Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Related to Geeks podcast, the podcast about a geeky family. This is episode 2, original air date, Thursday, August 20, 2015. Hello, my name's Megan. I'm the youngest of the siblings, and with us tonight is my brother Kier.
Hello.
My sister Sarah.
Hi.
And Oliver Daddy. Just leave that one in.
I'm your daddy.
Just going to warn everybody listening right now, I have been up since 5, and I got off of work about an hour ago, and it is past 9 o'clock at night, which is about my bedtime. So I'm going to be the best host ever this week. But anyway, we're going to get into the what's caused us to geek out lately. This is our first section of the podcast, and then we'll go on from there. So we're going to start with Dad. How about you? Ooh, hello.
Beep, beep. I'm the Roadrunner.
Okay.
Anyway, my deal this week has been working on a backup server for our home network. And so that's what I installed. I installed 11 terabytes of hard drive in my backup system.
That's a little bit of hard drive.
That's a lot of terabytes. So what you're saying?
I may have did my math wrong.
Your hard drive goes to 11.
9 terabytes.
Oh.
Well, that's
yeah.
nothing.
Slacker.
That's hardly none. I need to buy another 2 terabyte drive.
Doesn't sound nearly as good.
You gotta crank it to 11. Crank it to 11.
Yeah. Anyway, I've decided to back up the entirety of everybody's home directory, all of our system's home directories. And the first one I worked on was on the Delta system, which has our photos and my music production and the Something Movie Show and the Delta Boogie Mirror. And it was 1.3 terabytes.
I kind of would have expected it to be more than that.
That's a lot.
It wasn't, though.
Well, I have on my system alone about probably about 1.4 terabytes taken up. So, and that's just our one computer. But it's every picture, every digital scrapbook kit, games, everything. So, but 9 terabyte for a backup is huge.
Yeah, but I also have a video production system and then another system with the music I listen to, and yeah. And your mom has 2 systems.
No video here, or very little.
Yeah, video takes a lot of terabytes.
Doesn't take
but so
11,
far, not
though.
so much. No.
Doesn't even take 9.
All right, well, that sounds super fun, backing up stuff. Exciting times. What about you, Kier? What's caused you to geek out lately?
Well, it was foretold last episode. Dad put together a computer for Wendy, and I ended up upgrading the graphics card, and Wendy and I have been playing Minecraft together, and it has been wonderful. We're building a house together, and the thing we've got worked out is I'm building the house, and she is decorating it and filling it with stuff. And she is having a blast putting in beds and tables and making furniture, and I'll have to post some pictures as soon as we've got something more complete. But it's been a total blast doing that together.
I love it.
See, I never got into multiplayer Minecraft, and I feel like that's why Minecraft never really stuck with me longer than a week or 2 at a time.
Yeah. Before multiplayer, for me, it was, I'm going to build the most epic thing in the world. And then I'd build for like 2 hours and be like, well, that's enough of that.
Well, that's a good foundation for the most epic thing in the world. And moving on.
Everything is more fun when you're doing it with your daughters, which is why I love doing the Related to Geeks podcast.
Aw,
Oh.
Kier's the best daughter of them all.
I am the best daughter.
Aw, that is so sweet. Alright, Sarah, what about you? What's caused you to geek out lately?
Well, I have been vicariously living through other people's Gen Con experiences. Been watching a lot of YouTube videos, reviews, wishing that I could have been there, and trying to convince myself that I could possibly go in the future and not freak out about the crowds. But I've just been watching videos of the vendor hall and the things that people are doing. We have some guys that are in the game group that we're a part of that have shot video and shared it. And then, of course, I've watched a lot of Dice Tower reviews and their experiences there. So it's something I would love to do at some point, but, man, it's expensive and I don't do well in crowds, so that scares me. There were 62,000 people there, I think, this year, and that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's way more than 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could handle it if it was 11. I don't know it would be very
It's
much.
only
You know, what if they really were
62,000. Thousands way less than Tara.
We've been talking about maybe just going for like one day next year, just to see. That way we don't have to spend all of the nights at a hotel, and we could actually even get a hotel outside of Indy, like if you go to like Terre Haute or something, and get a hotel, it's about half the price. And if we get drive to like Terre Haute, spend the night, go into Indy the next day, hope we can find a parking spot. And then just spend the day at Gen Con and drive back to a hotel outside of the city and then drive back home the next day. It might not be too bad, and it would let me know whether or not, I'd rather waste one day and not be able to deal with crowds than 4 days and not be able to deal with the crowds.
Well, and your whole family has problems with crowds, so, I mean, you've got multiple layers of that. You may get in there and be fine, but somebody else in your family may be like, nope. Well, Liz has already told me that she doesn't care to go because she would rather us spend the money that we would spend on a ticket for her on a game for her. Mm-hmm. So, and it takes off a little bit of pressure not having to keep up with your daughter and all of that stuff. So, if it was just me and my husband, it's easier to keep up with him.
The secret to surviving in crowded conventions is to find all the bad parties, because hardly anyone's at them.
Good advice.
That's how I do it. Also, I don't go.
I do go to a convention once a year, and it's a small regional board game convention, and it's crowded. I mean, it's a small space, and it had, they sold out this year. There were 1,300 people there in a hotel convention area. It wasn't like a big convention center or anything. And, it's crowded, but the thing is that it's a playing convention, so everybody's sitting. And that's easy. If I have to move through a crowd, that's where I have problems. I can be around a whole bunch of people if I'm sitting and I have my own space. Mm-hmm. But it becomes a whole different thing if I'm going through like vendor areas and we went to a reptile show, I don't know, a few months ago in St. Louis, and it's in this tiny little hotel ballroom, and there are a ton of vendors and a ton of people, and you get kind of back in that back corner, and it just seems like the crowd's pushing you. And that was rough. I didn't enjoy that at all. But the topic of reptiles is not nearly as exciting to me as board games either. So that could help as well.
Yeah, you'll power through it for the board games.
I don't care so much about snake food. My snake does, but I don't. Or I should say my husband's snake and my daughter's snake.
Not your snake.
Well, I mean, he's
no
okay.
No claim to the snake.
I don't have problems with the snake, but I mean, I don't claim him like the other two do.
Is Sarah roboting
I
up?
do one. What's that?
She got a little robot-y at some point. We're all we all got a little bit of robot in us.
It's a family trait.
It's the same way that we're all a little gay, we're all a little robot. All right.
Exactly.
So, So, hey, Megan, what's caused you to geek out lately? Oh, well, thanks for asking, Megan. Thanks. I have been getting super hyped up for the fall lineup of DC TV shows. I've been watching Arrow since season 2, and the first season of The Flash was freaking amazing. And the same producers are also backing Supergirl, which is going to be on a different network, so that's going to cause some crossover issues. There's not going to be as much crossover there, but it still looks like a good show and something I'm excited for. And then later on, probably early next year, they're starting another show on the CW, which is where Arrow and the Flash air, that's called Legends of Tomorrow. And all 3 of those shows are going to be like heavily intertwined, and there's a lot of crossover, and it's kind of just like they're releasing hours of content a week that's geared specifically to what I'm into right now, which is, you know, cool superheroes and magic and science-y and just crazy, you know, over-the-top stuff. And that's what's really getting me excited, is that they're going more to that than they've ever done before. Because when Arrow started initially, it was kind of the realistic version of superheroes, and it was very gritty and very Dark Knight based. And as it's progressed, and especially when they brought in the Flash, it's just gotten more and more fantastical. And I'm excited to see, because they're introducing concepts like the multiverse and magic and all of this stuff that I want to watch unfold on television and see how they handle it. So I'm excited for that. It's still a ways off, so that may get brought up again in a future podcast before they actually start airing, because I'm already excited about it. They will do a lead-in for I think the shows start in October, but they're doing an online web series cartoon on Vixen for 6 weeks prior to the premiere. So I'm gonna watch that and get even more hyped. So that's what I am really geeking out over right now.
I watched the first season of Arrow, and I thought it was all right, but I couldn't really get into it. But what you're describing sounds much better to me. So yeah. I might have to give The Flash a try.
Yes. Season 1 of Arrow, it's an okay season. The finale's really good. Season 2 of Arrow's a really good season. The finale's kind of lackluster. Season 3 of Arrow totally loses its footing, but it's when they're simultaneously trying to figure out the Flash, and I feel like more attention was given to the Flash. Season 1 of The Flash is spectacular.
All right. I'll check out season 1 of The Flash.
There is a lot of crossover, though. And I've heard from people who just, like, you know, reviewers and stuff who just watch The Flash say that they can follow along okay, but I mean, they're very casual about their crossovers. At first they were going to do, like, just special events every now and again where they would cross over, and now they're just like, no, these people live in the same universe and know each other. If they need a favor, they'll just call and ask for a favor. And there'll be very casual appearances from cast members of the other show, and I find that very interesting, because I haven't seen crossovers of that nature much myself. It's usually, like, you know, it's always a big deal when a character crosses over. They're very casual about it. They're very much just like, no, these people are a part of each other's lives. They just happen to live in different cities, so they don't see each other every day.
I think you would enjoy Name of the Wind, featuring superhero magic user Dark Guy Kvothe.
Okay.
What was his name?
Kvothe. Sounds like quoth, but with a Kvothe.
Sounds like a lot.
Yeah, he's the series is 2/3 published, and we're waiting on the third and ending part of the trilogy, and it's already being bid on for movies. So we'll probably see a movie version sometime too.
I'm already sold, and I'm not even sure what half of what you said is. So, I mean,
In a
What was the name of it again?
Name of the Wind.
Okay.
In a similar vein of DC, Rosemary, my wife, and my daughter Wendy and I have been watching Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. And Rosemary and I have actually watched pretty much the entire series before, so we're rewatching it with our 5-year-old daughter. And it is absolutely stunning and adorable to see her watch the Justice League shows, because at least for the first run, the Justice League run, there was always a 2-part episode, and the first part always ended in like the cliffhanger. And my daughter was absolutely convinced, 100%, that there was no coming back from the cliffhanger until she watched the next episode, and she was like, "Oh, that's how they did it." But like
great.
every single time, it's just like, wait a minute, Hot Girl's a bad guy? And then it's just like, oh wait, no, she's not.
my favorite. We're switching universes, but my favorite is Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Have you watched that at all?
Oh, I think I've watched the first episode or two.
So yeah, and it takes them a while to actually assemble the team, so it's another one you got to give a little bit of attention before it actually kind of comes together. But it's fantastic. They stopped it after season 2 or 3, I can't remember, to basically reboot the series and make it more like the movies, which made me sad.
Apparently, in 2009, there was a Wonder Woman movie or series or something that I saw a 30-second clip of, and it was definitely a cartoon, but it's definitely for grown-ups.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of want to see it just based on the little short clip of Wonder Woman versus Ares that I saw.
Man, superheroes are great. I wish I knew more about them.
Superheroes are what?
Great.
Great.
And I wish I knew more about
Hello?
them. Hello? Can you hear me at all? Kirsten.
Hello?
Kirsten.
I can hear Kier.
Did I lose everybody?
And I can hear you both. I guess so. I can hear everybody fine.
I can too. Well, let's just continue the podcast like this, why don't we?
Everyone's walking here going, hello.
Sounds like a plan.
I guess I'll hang up and recall.
Okay. That sounds like a better plan.
I wonder if I can just add him.
We tried. We couldn't figure out how to do it because we're probably
Add
Help.
people to this call.
Help! Help!
Select.
done.
Add. Oh, I'm doing something. Sarah, do I still have you?
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm here. Where's
Yes.
Kier?
Kier?
Hello.
Hey!
Hey, I figured out Skype.
Figured it out. Ow?
She solved it all. We've had trouble trying to add somebody to our conversation in the past, and she figured out how to do it.
Huzzah!
Because she's awesome.
So I just kind of dropped off there for a second, and now I'm back.
It was funny because we could all hear you.
Yeah?
And we can still hear each other, but you apparently couldn't
Yeah,
hear
like
any of
I
us.
repeated what I said like 3 times because I just thought that I was cutting out or something.
Well, I can hear you now. So what did you say? Like, the suspense is killing me.
Superheroes are great.
Superheroes are great.
I wish I knew more about them.
I
I
mean,
should have said
feel
that
like
last part too.
Oh, speaking of superheroes, and going back to something that Kier talked about in the last podcast, my daughter came back from the superhero game day just absolutely thrilled with icons. She had a lot of fun. Yeah, she really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we just touched on just a little bit of the system, but I got to tell you, if that is the simple strip down system, my goodness, the cool mutants and masterminds must be over the top.
Wow.
All six-siders, right?
It's all six-siders, and I liked it, but there was a lot of references and cross-references and abilities and attributes and powers and skills and traits and qualities and trying to keep everything, what's a specialty and what's a quality and what's an attribute and what's power and how all that works together. It was a bit to keep up with. I will say the win for me for that game was the determination. That rule was really cool, that mechanic, where as a DM I could kind of do a little bit of a fiat and say, oh, and then the bad guy got away, and everyone gets a determination that they can spend later to improve their chances of doing something. And for some reason, if you're a DM and you say, and the bad guy got away, your players get really upset with you. But if you give them that point, like, here's the bad guy got away, here's some determination, they're all like, oh yeah, oh, that's fine now.
That's funny.
All right, so I think that wraps up with what's caused us to geek out lately. We're going to go take a quick break, and we'll be back with our topic of the week. Be right back.
You're listening to the Related to Geeks podcast, the podcast of a geeky family, hosted on our website, relatedtogeeks.com, and on our YouTube channel.
All right, welcome back. We are talking about our brand of geek this week. This is the thing that we kind of most identify in the geek-verse. Of course, we're all very into a lot of different geek things, but we each kind of have our own little focus area, and we're just going to kind of discuss our own little focus area. So I'm going to open it up to whoever would like to start.
I will say that I know that there's a lot of overlap, but mine is definitely, I would say, tabletop gaming, and especially board games, and to a lesser extent RPGs, but I'm still pretty excited about RPGs, board games, and we play miniature games, and have even delved a little bit into some collectible card games, but not nearly as heavy as board gaming and RPGs.
I'm actually kind of the reverse of you right now, where tabletop gaming, yes, but I am RPGs first and board games second right now.
Yeah. And probably 6 months ago, I would have been, everything was about RPGs about 6 months ago. And I mean, still, I can't wait to start playing again. And that's part of it, is I really haven't been involved in a game over the summer at all. I haven't had a RPG session one, so that makes a difference too in how excited I am about something. I've got to play lots of board games.
It sounds like a terrible summer.
I just live so far away from everybody. It's not ideal.
I lived the traditional nerdy college experience, and in college I experimented with RPGs. I probably played 20 or 30 different RPGs just while I was in college, from, White Wolf to superhero RPGs like Aberrant and Mutants and Masterminds. It's been forever since I've played Mutants and Masterminds, and I don't remember it being terribly complicated, but then again, I had a guy there who knew the rules, and basically I said, I want to do this. He says, roll this and add this, and I was like, okay. But yeah, I am RPGs first by a long shot right now, and if you'd asked me A year ago, it probably would have been board games first at that time. But right now, it's definitely RPGs first, and really a big driving factor of that is I'd mentioned a monthly game day we're doing at the library in the last podcast, and part of what I'm doing there is I'm making an RPG of the Month club. So this month's theme, or I guess technically next month's theme, is going to be pirates. So I am currently looking at the 7th Sea RPG, which is a pirate and adventure on the high seas style RPG. And that came highly recommended by some friends of mine, and I've been reading up on the rules, and it's pretty cool looking.
Oh, is it a fairly easy one to get into, do you think?
I have not read enough into it to make a good claim on that one way or the other. I've really been reading the intro and fluff stuff, which is essentially kind of a world similar to but somewhat distinct from Earth, in that most of the historical nations in the Age of Pirates are represented, but the names are changed so as to, I guess, not incriminate or
to not incriminate the guilty?
Yeah. But
is anybody else hearing a weird clicking in the background?
I am.
Okay.
Oh, it's probably me.
Okay. I'm hearing this click, click, click.
I realized, I was like, I'm not hearing anything, but I just stopped clicking my pen, so that was what it was.
Oh, goodness.
I actually, I had a friend online who, she and I are both huge RPG nerds, and we would get into contests to, go over the number of different RPG systems we played. And one night, she and I just went system for system, and I think we each got up to about 50 systems before we decided, all right, clearly we have a problem.
Y'all are both huge RPG nerds. There's no reason to fight about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go way back with my geek thing. Okay, before there were computers, I was a math geek. And my friend and I would, my music geek and game geekiness came from when my friend and I would stay up late Saturday nights listening to the Midnight Special on WFMT, which is still going on. And we would play chess. And there were no RPGs then. We'd play at Gettysburg on a hex map.
So I've never even heard of Gettysburg. Is it like a war game, or?
Yeah, it's Civil War, the Battle of Gettysburg, and it's played on a hex map, and it's historically correct. In other words, the forces come in at the right time of day onto the board at the right time of day and date.
Yeah, I feel like you have to be a math geek to play that.
Yeah, and it's hex board, so you move so many squares, but they're hexes, so it's more geometrically correct.
Right.
How far you can. It's turn-based, Yeah, Gettysburg and those war games back then, they're real famous in the history of gaming.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of the people that were playing them then are still playing. Still playing a lot of these games today, the historical miniature games and stuff like that. There is a group in Seattle, I think it is, that they have a club with a clubhouse and all of this, and I think they have all kinds of games, I think, but I think that their club, from what I have gathered, was really based around this kind of miniature tabletop gaming of the historical. The miniature games that I was talking about that we played are fantasy based for sure, but my husband's very interested in historical miniature games, and we do have some people in our local club that play historical miniatures, so he's really excited about finding out more about them because it's something that interests him a lot.
But now I'm with Kier. I'm more into RPGs.
Yeah.
Actually, another brand of geek that we share in common, Dad, I actually found an interesting website on today called ProjectEuler.net. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that one or not.
No, I'm not.
So essentially, it is a website of nothing but math problems. And typically, they're math problems that should be aided in for finding the solution with a computer. And so what they do is they just post up a problem, and then they request people to solve it, and they'll post the number of people who have solved it next to the problem. And it's a pretty cool little website. It was shown to me by a coworker today who's using it to train in new programming languages, because if you can solve complex mathematical equations in a programming language you've never used before, by the time you're done solving a complex mathematical equation, there's pretty good odds that you know the programming language pretty well by that point.
Well, I used to be a Martin Gardner guy in the Recreational Mathematics column in Scientific American by Martin Gardner, and he had a puzzle of the month type of thing.
Alright, well, I'm going to talk a little bit about my brand of geek, which has stayed pretty constant throughout my life. I don't flip-flop as much as some of these others. But I love video games. And I've been playing them since I was like 2. Pretty much, Kier's talking about his 5-year-old girl playing Minecraft. That's me. I was playing Doom though, so probably not as wholesome, but still a lot of fun. Little 4-year-old girl beating Doom 2. That was me. And then later played with a lot of friends during high school. But again, like Kier was mentioning, college was kind of it, because college was one of those where I got to meet a bunch of people who liked different types of gaming. That's when I really started exploring more like collectors and reviewers online, and tracking down newer and interesting games. And I communicate with people who played Call of Duty all day, and that's all they did, and that was fine. I enjoyed sitting down and playing with them. But then I'd also find people who had like old, Windows 98 machines that they would, play all of the classics on that I grew up with, and we got to bond over Commander Keen and all of that stuff, and so that was a great time. And then more and more now, I was fairly streamlined until probably midway through college. I really got into kind of the indie gaming scene, and I've been pretty much stuck there since I've discovered indie games. For one, they're, I think, much more interesting style of game, because they focus more on trying to develop new mechanics and new ways of playing games rather than just big budgets and shiny graphics. But also because they're a shorter, more affordable gaming experience for me, where I can spend a few dollars, sit down for a couple of hours and have a good time, rather than going and spending $60 for, a 20, 30 hour epic that I play 2 hours of before I get bored of, because it's all samey. So indie video games are definitely my main focus in my overarching love of games in general.
Well, I have to say I'm very glad that you love video games, because you offer advice to my daughter that my husband and I can't offer. And she has loved, I think, just about every game that she's bought that you've suggested to her. She's had a lot of fun with those, and I don't think any of them are indie games, but she definitely likes what you've suggested for her.
Yeah, and that's, just knowing how to understand that there are players who enjoy different types of video games, because for the longest time there was a lot of people I interacted with that just didn't understand that I played all different types of games and enjoyed experiencing all different types of games, and then could go and like interact with people who only played platformers, or who were, first person shooter fanatics and things like that. But it's allowed me to learn a lot about the different genres, and so I can just hear Liz say, well, these are 3 games that I like, can you suggest other games that I would like based on that? And so that's been fun to kind of basically try to find the hidden gems out there that she may not know about that would be up her alley. Also, occasionally she texts me and be like, I really want this game, but I can't find it anywhere, and then it's just like a treasure hunt for me, because I get to try to track down the game for her.
And I'm thankful for that, too, because that's all I hear about is how she can't find this game. So, it's one of those things. Obviously, my husband likes video games and plays video games quite a bit, but up until very recently, the games he played were not going to be the games that Liz was interested in playing. They just, she was never into shoot 'em up. I don't even know how to say, Devin's not even really a big first-person shooter fan, but just he's into much more adult titles than she is. And a mature audience game was not good for my 10-year-old daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And even to this extent, even though she's, 14 now, there are still some titles that she wouldn't be comfortable with, even if we're comfortable with her watching them, or playing them. So she definitely has her own boundaries.
You should hook her up with Doom. That's good for 4-year-olds even.
Yeah.
I heard something about that.
I freaked my college professor out because it was like a history of media class, and they talked about Doom and all of the bad publicity it got, and like she was trying to explain what Doom was, and I like talked about it at length and talked about playing it growing up and everything like that, and she looked at me and she was like, you played that game? So that was fun. I also got to make a good point about Wikipedia in that class, because when the same teacher told me that I should not use Wikipedia and research because information's wrong on it, and I said, there's information wrong in our textbook. It says Doom is the first-person shooter. That's not right.
Not by a long shot. There were at least 2 before.
I want to comment on supporting indie art. Megan mentioned the indie games that she likes, and something's true in music. A lot of people think, and I used to think, that the people with the record contracts were making the best music, but really all the good stuff, all the new stuff, always comes from indies first.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you can definitely see, like, some of those got their like rise from being just really out of the box and creative, like OK Go is a good example of that, of making like really stellar videos to go along with their songs, and having actually good music to boot doesn't hurt, but they were one of those that really kind of put forth some extra effort and did something really interesting as a more indie band than you may have seen elsewhere.
We actually just spent an evening, probably just a couple of nights ago, the 3 of us sitting down going to OK Go's YouTube channel and just watching video after video after video, because, just the production quality is amazing. And I've actually tasked my daughter with making a Rube Goldberg machine after watching the OK Go one. Obviously not to that, not to that caliber. Yeah. but I basically said, I want you by the end of next month to create a Rube Goldberg machine that has at least 5 separate moving parts.
Yeah.
And I think she can do that.
Yeah, I did it growing up. I didn't even have it as an assignment. I was just a geek. I had a fairly intricate one to turn off my light switch from my bed. That's
cool.
That's what I did. That and played Doom.
Like an awesome childhood.
That was all I needed. That was
it. Speaking of awesome childhood, we started our 9th grade year of homeschooling today. And our brand of geek, I guess, because that's definitely a brand of geek that the entire family shares, as we talked about last week. But yeah, it's crazy to me. This is really, I mean, this is our 10th year, going into our 10th year, because she has been homeschooled since. I mean, I would even say before kindergarten. I mean, we definitely did, between us and mom and dad kept her too when she was preschool. So she always had education in her life, and pretty hands-on education. So it's been an interesting journey, and and it's kind of one of those, oh my gosh, we're starting high school revelations that's scaring the crap out of all of us, I think. But I think we'll make it through okay.
I think so too. That's all I really had to add to that part.
Anyway, I just thought I would add that because it's been, we officially brought out the I hate to say like this is the first day of school kind of thing, because learning happens in our house all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And out the house all the time. But, it's like at the beginning of every year we sit down with like a bookshelf full of new books that I want her to try to read this year. And some she doesn't get to, but most of them she does. And, we're starting algebra, and and she's always done some. I mean, she's very familiar with algebra and has done work with variables and all of this, but we're actually in an algebra textbook for the first time. She's just had kind of worksheets and stuff and explanations. Every time anything real world came up that could be taught, especially math, my husband is like, okay, it's time for a lesson. So, and I think that's honestly, I mean, that means more than sitting down with a worksheet and a textbook and all of that. But she's also pretty good at math, and it's I don't know. I mean, it's just like that whole bookshelf full of new books and stuff, and beginning a new calendar. And this year we're having to, keep information for transcripts as well.
By the time a student gets to high school age, they have a better idea of what they're going to need to know than you do.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to add, is that I remember, like, as I got into that, like, high school, in those high school grades, my actual, like, lessons, there was really very little structure to them. It was mostly just, I spent a lot of time working on, photography stuff and writing stuff and things like that. And now I work as a reporter, so, I guess that proves true, because that's just what I was drawn to. I remember Mom and Dad talking about how Kier thought he was getting away with stuff while he was being homeschooled, because he would go and, like, play on computers all day and mess around with, coding things and designing websites and things like that. And now that's his career. So, I mean, it was just, he knew what he wanted to do, and that's just what he was interested in and drawn to. So.
Well, yeah, and I spent a lot of my teenage years, I read a lot of plays because I was very interested in theater. And, I mean, it's not my career now, but it's what I went to college for, and I did work professionally in theater for about 5 years afterwards. And that was even a part of my. I think we probably were a little more structured because I was the first one.
Yeah, by the time they got to me, they just didn't care anymore. They were just like, here, learn some things, go.
It's kind of the same with the baby that, the first baby and the pacifier falls out of the mouth and it gets sanitized. And then by the fifth baby, it's like, okay, pick it up, wipe it down. Here you go.
Fine.
But yeah, I mean, but they definitely still allowed me to explore.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that I was interested in exploring. And, I mean, I do everything. My daughter's very creative. She likes to make stuff, and I do everything I can to allow her that time to sew or to sculpt or to draw or whatever it is that she's wanting to do, because she enjoys it and she learns from it every time she does something new.
Well, my recommendation for Liz is projecteuler.net.
We'll have to check it out.
And after that, she needs to beat Dad and back up 11 terabytes.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're going to wrap up this section and go to another break, and we're going to come back with our pick of the week.
Find links to the stuff we're talking about and download the podcast MP3 from our website, relatedtogeeks.com. You can also listen on our YouTube channel.
All right, welcome back. We are going to do our pick of the week. This is when we just kind of talk about something that we kind of recommend, suggest, find interesting, whatever we're kind of into at the moment. And so we're going to start off with Kier. How about you?
Well, my pick of the week comes from the Superhero Game Day. It's not Icons, but we had a play and win title there called Rhino Hero or Super Rhino, depending on which version you get. But it's the same game. And it's kind of a game where you're building up this tower of cards, and some of the cards are folded in half, and you just use those as your walls, and you lay cards on top of those, and you build up some more walls, and there's this little wooden rhino, and occasionally a card will call for you to put the rhino on it, and you'll have to place this wooden rhino on the card as well. And then the next player who has to place the wooden rhino first has to reach in and dig the wooden rhino out from between the cards before they can place it on the top card. And it is fantastic fun. I hear you can get it over 3 feet tall. I think we maxed out at about 23 or 24 inches. And it was a wonderful time.
I was just going to say I was really impressed with how tall that tower got. I'd only played it a couple of times before, but we never got anywhere near that height.
Yeah.
When I've played. Probably because I knocked it down. I don't know, honestly, but that's my guess.
I like to refer to that game as House of Cards Extreme.
It's a cute little game, and it's under $20, I think, and you can get it even cheaper than that, if you order through like Amazon or something. But I think the retail price is under $20.
What's really nice about the game is that whether you're 5 years old or you're 95 years old, it doesn't matter. That game is fun for all ages.
When I was a kid, we used to build houses out of cards, and we didn't even need no game.
You did need cards, though.
Did need cards, yeah. You had to have cards to build a house out of cards.
Didn't need a hippo, though.
No.
Those were sad times. Just hard times that he had to live through playing with cards and no hippo.
It's a rhino.
It's a rhino?
It's a rhino.
Yeah.
On, Hippo
the Rhino Hero.
I've never actually played the game.
Happy hippo.
I've only just seen it at a distance.
It's fun. It's definitely a kid's game, but it's still, dexterity games are fun. And it's not something you're probably going to want to spend all night playing, but it sure is fun. I think adults are going to want to play it about as long as a kid wants to play it. But
my version is a hippo cosplaying as a rhino.
There you go. If that works for you.
Okay, my pick of the week is also from the Superhero Game Day, and it doesn't have super or hero or hippos or rhinos in it, but it's called Doodle Dice, and I love Doodle Dice, and it's awesome. So to explain Doodle Dice real quick, you have a set of dice that have different lines, squiggles, dots, a weird little frowny, angry face, doesn't really make sense kind of face. And you just have to roll those dice and match it up to cards, and they have little basically interpretations of if you lay these dice out in a certain way, and they make a stick figure or a boat or I don't know, a giraffe or whatnot.
They have some really the part of the fun of the game is seeing how these doodles make these cute pictures.
Sometimes it's a stretch, and sometimes you're just like, oh, I see that, and other times you're just like, sure, that's what that is. But anyway, I like it because I just like rearranging images in my mind and trying to configure it. It combines puzzles and randomness and just fun. And I played with Wendy Kier, and she had no idea what she was doing, had no idea how to kind of the strategy of the game of how to pick which ones to go through and go for, and how to, try to get one of each type of card. And then she absolutely stomped me and Sarah. So that just shows you the wonderfulness of Doodle Dice. So it's fun for everybody.
She was good at making the pictures. She just didn't get the you have to get one of every color kind of thing.
She just picked the picture she liked the most, and that's the one she wanted.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Gotcha.
It's a strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she won.
So. She did win.
So I feel like you need to get yourself a copy of that and then make your own card for a hippo cosplaying as a rhino.
Yeah. I mean,
why not?
Why not?
When I was a kid, we had a doodle without dice.
Oh, it's definitely one of those nights.
All right, Dad, on that note, what's your pick of the week?
Well, since it's pick of the week and it's every 2 weeks, I got 2 picks.
Oh,
okay. Security Now podcast. That's math, by the way. Security Now podcast with Steve Gibson. It's a video or audio podcast, and he discusses computer security and related privacy. And he had a great one on Windows 10 and all the ways that they were invading your space and how to turn it off. He said his answer is to stick with 7 and not even go to 10. So that was what he chose. What it is, though, is that Windows 10 is more like a phone or like Facebook, where it's more of a marketing tool, and they're trying to be convenient to the user so that they can gather a lot of information on the user so that their advertisers and their app developers can market to that user, I guess is the way you would look at it. So all of that you can turn off, according to Steve Gibson. I don't really know how much you can turn off. Some of it's hard to turn off. But it's kind of a whole OS that's a big piece of spyware, Windows 10. Yeah.
We just installed it, so I guess we need to look at this because
my second pick of the week, if I'm still coming through, is the Ubuntu Net install. It's like a 40, depending on what version, it's like a 40 megabyte download. So this is in the other direction. Small is good. And so it's a 40 megabyte download, and from it you install Ubuntu, and it can be Xubuntu or Kubuntu or Mythbuntu, and then you can decide which software packages you want to install, or you can just wait until it installs and choose the software you want to use from the software center. The thing that's really cool about it is it's a text install, so it'll install on about anything. It'll install on machines that it won't run good on, whereas a lot of the graphical installers will not install on machines that won't run the graphical installer, obviously, but just about anything will run that text installer. So, and there are some very light, like the Ubuntu is a very light distribution, and so I recommend it. Ubuntu Net install.
So we discussed a really crappy OS and a really good one.
Yeah, and my husband doesn't use Facebook because he doesn't like their terms of privacy stuff. So I need to have him look at that. That's my thought.
So Sarah's pick of the week is research.
Right, I always like research. That's what we do. All three of us, that's what we do. No, my pick of the week is a website. It is called playplaylearn.com. And what it is it's a database of board games. And there's a search engine that allows you to search by your game subject, and it's broken down into like your school subjects. So these are all games that can be used for education. So you can search by your subject, you can search by the age level of your students, you can search by mechanisms, you can search by playtime, and you can search by number of players. So, say you're looking for a science game that's good for a 5th grader. It will bring up some science games that could be educational and good for a 5th grader. I did, it's only been, I think it was just developed in the past year or so. I think it's got a 2014 date on it. I searched just games for high school, 9th through 12th grade, and it brought up 19 games. And, I know that there's a lot more out there than 19 games, but, I mean, these are actual, not educational games, but games that, are games that can be used in conjunction with your students' education. One of the guys that is part of the Play Learn organization has a series of books that he has developed, and the site for these are called teachingthroughgames.com, and it's a set of, right now I think there's 5 books, and it has things like teaching about the American Revolution through play, and it's a series, I think it's 5 weeks of lesson plans using the board game 1775. I think it's called 1775 The Rebellion, or A Rebellion, which is a war game. And it's a pretty popular one, as far as I think a lot of non-war gamers actually own either this game or 1812, The Invasion of Canada, which is in the same series of games. And there's writing exercises, there's reading exercises, there's information about the games you'll be playing. I have not actually looked at any of these books in person, but the concept sounds really neat. One of their books is Teaching Secondary Science Through Play, and that's one that I'm really interested in checking out. And it uses actually 4 different games. And I don't know, have you heard of Evolution, Kier?
I have not, but I'm looking at it right now because I brought up the website.
You're cheating, man.
Evolution has gotten a lot of really good comments, and that's one of the games that they use. They use, for chemistry, they use a game called Compounded, which is, I've seen reviews on that one in the past that have gotten really good comments. People really enjoy that. And I'm not familiar at all with the other 2 games that they use through the book. But I like the fact that they're bringing in games to teach, but they're also adding writing assignments and reading passages and stuff like that to add to it. And I'm really, really curious about it. I actually found out about this on one of the homeschool sites that I go to, on one of the Facebook groups that I'm a member of. And she had gone to a presentation. They have like an education day at Gen Con on the Wednesday before. What happened?
I don't know, but it scared me.
I love it. I love it. I want to get a Harpo's horn, Honk, honk.
Maybe. I got a notification on my phone, but it just buzzed. It didn't make any sound on my end. So
it's loud on our end.
It made a noise over here. Anyway.
She had gone to the presentation at Gen Con that this guy did on the Wednesday, because like I said, they have an educator's day. And it's kind of funny. I had seen some reviews on the Dice Tower that Dan King, who is the Game Boy Geek, I think is his name, his YouTube name, had done some reviews on these books. But I just passed by them because I just thought, well, one of the ones he did was teaching the American Revolution through play. And there's a game called Revolution, and I just assumed that he was talking about that. And then the other one that he did a review on was teaching the Underground Railroad through play. And there's a cooperative game called Freedom, the Underground Railroad, and which is the game that this one is based on. But I thought he was reviewing those games. I'd seen reviews of both of those games, so I just kind of skipped past them and didn't think about it. So I went back and watched his reviews today, and he was very, very favorable towards these books. And he actually had both of the games in his collection that these books were based on. So I'm super curious about it, and I may go ahead and check out the secondary science one at some point. There's also a programming concepts one that uses, I think, Robo Rally, I want to say. And there's the 5th one that I haven't talked about is teaching financial literacy through play. which I think uses.
Monopoly.
All games are educational,
Yeah.
except educational games.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that he said is that, and I don't know, one of the things that's really neat about the playplaylearn.com site is that he has a section that is his handouts that he gives at his lectures and his seminars and stuff that he does. He's a school librarian, so that was kind of cool too. But he is coming from an education point of view. But one of the comments that he either made on the site or in one of these handouts that he has available is that kids know the difference between a game and a worksheet with a spinner.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was absolutely true, and I liked how he said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've mentioned some of the games, but does it appear that for the most part the games that are used in these lesson plans are still like readily available, or?
I know that Robo Rally is. I know Freedom of the Underground Railroad is because it's been talked about a lot recently. Compounded is. One that I looked up today that I hadn't heard of was available on like a science fiction website. It was one of the science ones. But it wasn't available through like the gaming markets. Now, I didn't look at any of these on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
I've just, they're things that I kind of recognized. And on the website, like the Play Learn database, I think most of the games I saw there were definitely in print. One of the games that they had on there is, I don't know, do y'all know the 10 Days series? 10 Days in the USA, 10 Days in Africa, 10 Days in Europe.
I've heard of it. I've not played it.
It was actually a game. Our library, when we were where we lived before, had board games that you could check out and take home and play. And they tended to try to make them a little bit educational. But this is a game that I enjoyed playing with my daughter. It's a geography game where you have to try to get from state to state through different means. Like if they're next to the state, you can walk to it. If it's the same color, you can fly to it. And then I think that if it was like 2 states or 3 states away, you could drive to it. It's been a long time since I've played. And it's kind of Racco style where you have to connect them on a board. So you get from Arkansas to Missouri with a pair of shoes because you're walking to it. But then, Missouri might lead to Washington with an airplane because they're the same color. And this is all laid out on the map. You don't have to. I didn't have any advantage to her in playing the game because you did not have to know where the states were at in order to play the game. It's all, you have a map in front of you. So there was no, a lot of like educational games or even non-educational games when you're playing as an adult against an 8 or 9 year old. You're going to have an advantage over them if it's knowledge-based. And this was not at all knowledge-based. It was about, you learned where the states were because you were trying to figure out if you had to walk to them or you could fly to them or you had to drive to them. And they also included like the capitals on it too. So that's just, just by playing the game, you might learn a capital or two.
Except in Doodle Dice, a 4-year-old has the advantage.
Yes.
Yeah. I was thinking, are you smarter than a 5th grader, personally?
But, that's one of the things I really liked about it, because most geography games, I was going to have an advantage over Liz playing these games. She was, well, even now, probably, but when she was 7 or 8, for sure. And I liked that I didn't have that advantage. And in fact, she probably beat me every time we played, because she's just better at games than I am. But...
I would not have had an advantage. Geography.
But really, I feel like that's the way educational games should be. The gameplay really shouldn't be the
gameplay should
the education part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. That's the words I was looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
I learned quite a bit about geography just playing like Ticket to Ride or Pandemic, just learning where these cities were in the world, or
Or at least
where they were.
close to it. They're not.
At least a close
Ticket to Ride is not exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
Seattle
you know,
might be in Canada.
but at least you know what's in the
Where in the
Northwest.
hell is Carmen San Diego?
I think you added some stuff there. I think you paraphrased slightly.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, yeah, check out the playlearn.com because it's got. I'm hoping that they're going to develop it a little bit more and get more games in the database. Like I said, I don't know how long this website's been around and what they're planning on doing, but it's a really good start, and I'm really excited to see where they take it.
I learned a lot about dungeon geography playing RPGs.
I had the Dungeoneer Survival Guide.
Valuable life skills all around. All around. All right, so I think that about wraps us up for this week. We will be back in a couple of weeks and maybe slightly more awake. Probably not, but maybe. But anyway, we hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we'll catch you real soon. Bye.
Bye.
Oh my gosh! I watched Super Friends when I was 7.
That's pretty super.
We just watched the episode of Justice League Unlimited that guest starred the Super Friends.
Cool.